I'm Shan with Werkz, and today we're going to find out whether your Glock clone can fit into your light-bearing holster. Here at Werkz, we're known for our precision-fit light-bearing holsters. Each holster is made for an exact model of pistol and exact model of light. So that brings up a relevant question when you're running a Glock clone. I have here the Glock 45 Gen 5 from Glock, the Shadow Systems MR920, the Zro Delta Modulus, the STK-100 from Rock Island, and the Lone Wolf Glock clone. For lights, I have the Streamlight TLR-7A and the Surefire X300-U. And finally, for holsters, I have the M6 model for the Glock with those two lights. So first off, let's fit up the TLR-7 onto the Glock and see how well it fits into our TLR-7 holster. My finely fit key here. Good fit, feels good. I could tighten up the retention a little bit, but it feels good. Now let's go ahead and try this on the next pistol. The MR920. Note that for the MR920 I have to use the Glock specific key. The Gen 5 key for the Glock doesn't work on this Gen 4 slotted pistol. Fits pretty good. I think I could go ahead and add some retention. Let's go ahead and do that. Feels pretty good. I could probably add a little more retention, but I'm pretty happy with that. Now looking over this MR920, I noticed that the slide is chamfered, and with that, it may not butt up against the edges, the rounded edges of the holster as well, so that can result in a tiny bit of rattle. But again, with the retention screwed down a little bit, it fits pretty darn well. Let's try the Zro Delta. Huh, wow. To be honest, I'm quite pleased with how that fits. Very little rattle. So obviously this has the Glock 34 length slide. If you're running the Glock 17 length slide, it's going to end, your muzzle is going to end about at the end of the holster. And if it's 19, it's going to end before the end of the holster, but it's still going to fit in just fine. I'm pleased with that fit. That's quite good. Let's go ahead and hit the STK-100. Well, it looks like positioning may be the trick for the STK-100. It doesn't want to go ahead and set up against the trigger guard like I would expect for a Glock, and it's got a little bit of a gap there. I don't know exactly which key would be the most compatible, but it would be best to get this light brought up against the trigger guard more, and that would close up the gap that you might see there. But that fits pretty well as well. So as opposed to the STK-100, the Lone Wolf, it fits on and there's very little gap. And you can hear the rattle on that. Let's go ahead and tighten the retention, see if that gives us the improved feel, see if we can work out some of that rattle. So the Lone Wolf, by adjusting the retention down, you can go ahead and get a good fit and good retention, but it's still going to have a little bit of that rattle, and that is mostly because this slide is narrowed up on the top a little bit. So for the TLR-7, TLR-7A, and our holsters, which I think would be representative of pretty much all of our compact light holsters, you're going to get a good fit. You're going to need to adjust your retention a little bit. Now let's move on to the popular X300-U. Let's go ahead and fit that up against our Glock here. Glock 45 with X300-U. It fits like it's made for it. Let's hit the MR920. A little bit of that rattle that I've talked about. Fits pretty good. I don't know if I'd even adjust the retention on that. Zro Delta Modulus. Oh, that's tight. Let's go ahead and adjust that retention, pull some of that retention out. And when I do this, I'm turning that about half a turn, 3/4 of a turn. As I do that, I can feel the screws loosening up and kind of loosening up to such an extent that they stop having tension on them and start allowing that claw to wiggle around too much. So it's a little more retentive than I would prefer on the Zro Delta. You might be able to dial it in a little bit. I suspect heat would probably, along the slide area, would probably fix it, but that is not something that I recommend anybody do. So I'd say a little too tight on the Modulus. Let's go ahead and hit the STK 100. That rail's awfully tight. Again, too big of a gap. It looks like Rock Island decided that they were going to position their slots a little bit differently than everybody else does. I think that's a runnable holster. I'd probably dial in a little bit more retention. So when I look at this, I look at the gap and I go, well, this pistol is not really made super well to have the keys all line up where we expect them on Glock style pistols. So I'd say the bigger problem is where they set the slots on it. I need an appropriately sized pry bar. Holy moly. I think the lesson here is don't put an X300 on your Rock Island. Holy moly. Well, that's what you get by putting the light on your Rock Island. A bunch of finished wear. The X300 still works. Okay, let's try the Lone Wolf. Pretty happy with the fitment on that. That feels pretty good. So we learned that the Streamlight TLR-7A on all of these pistols worked just fine in our TLR-7 holster. And I think that that would likely be representative of what you would see with any sort of the compact lights in our compact light bearing holsters. Match the light up, of course, and then select a Glock 17, for instance, as your pistol. We learned that the Surefire X300-U on the Glock, on the MR920, and on the Lone Wolf pistol fit and function just fine. We learned that it was too tight on the Zro Delta Modulus that is fitted with the Glock 34 length slide. And we learned that really that the X300 does not fit as a light properly on the STK 100. I think that this is likely representative of the large lights like the TLR-1 and the X300-U and the Mod Light. If you're running it on a Glock, of course, run with a Glock holster and the model light you have. MR920 should fit just fine. You may need to adjust your retention. And then the Lone Wolf should fit just fine. Again, adjust your retention as you see fit. Thanks so much for watching. This is Shan Hemphill with Werkz. Have a blessed day.